The AFL scheduling problem is almost infinite in size.
We have really intense periods of actually building the fixture.
Too many meetings and versions to count.
We do get a lot of feedback from fans.
To try to do it by hand would be essentially impossible.
I'm Josh Bowler and I'm the Head of Broadcast Operations and Scheduling at the AFL, and I'm responsible for creating the fixture each year. We're here in AFL Studios because we're about to record a short video to analyse and summarise the fixture for the general public. This has been a process that's taken a couple of months to complete, and so it's a massive relief to get it in the hands of the fans.
The countdown to season 2024 is well and truly on. The fixture is here and the man responsible for delivering it is AFL Head of Broadcast Operations and Scheduling, Josh Bowler. Josh, welcome to you.
Thanks, Nat. Thanks for having me.
My role is to build a fixture that maximises interest in our game, and so whether that's people going to games in person in the crowd or watching it on TV, we want to maximise interest in our sport. It's a lot of time on the phone and it's a lot of analysing of information and details, so it's a great role and process where I get to work with a bunch of people across the industry.
My name is Laura Kane. I'm the Executive General Manager of Football at the AFL. We factor in a number of requests from clubs, and every time we make one change, it may be just by one single day or one single time slot, everything else needs to be reassessed and looked at to make sure that it's equitable for all.
The way AFL's evolved in time is that it's become a sport that talks to its audience and builds its audience. A key part of that is the fixture, because you can start to, through the use of technology, build out what the people want to see.
The AFL is made up of 18 teams. Each team will play 23 games, 11 home games, 11 away games, and 1 game at Gather Round, which is an additional round where all games are played in the same state. The fixture sees teams play each other once, leaving an additional 6 games where they will play certain teams a second time. These double matchups are governed by what we call the weighted rule. Once the finals conclude in a season, each team's finishing position will determine who they play in their double matchups the following season. For that reason, no versions of the fixture can be built until the day after the grand final. The final ladder is divided into thirds: the top 6, middle 6 and bottom 6. Based on finishing position, each team will play 2 to 3 double matchup games against teams in the same grouping and 1 to 2 games against teams in the alternate 2 groupings. These games are added to each team's schedule and can happen in any order.
All the way up until the early 2000s, we were doing the fixture manually. And it wasn't until a chance encounter on a bus in the US that we actually met Rick.
My name is Rick Stone. I'm the founder of Optimal Planning Solutions, and we assist the AFL with the creation of their fixtures each season. We actually met Simon Gore, who was in charge of fixturing at the AFL at Super Bowl in 2007.
The software that we use is a mathematical algorithm-based software, custom-built for scheduling, and it's used globally among some of the biggest sporting leagues in the world.
A lot of leagues in the past had actually been working with math professors or software professors at local universities. The AFL scheduling problem as a mathematical problem is almost infinite in size. To try to do it by hand would be essentially impossible. Whereas our software can look at every one of the trillions and trillions of different combinations and find the one that best meets the AFL's priorities. The way the software works, it's essentially millions of different mathematical equations. There's equations built in there for home and away patterns. There's equations built in for preferential television broadcasts, opponent spacing, travel.
Imagine a world where any team can play on any given day at any venue against any opponent. What the software will do is basically run every single possible variation of that scenario and come up with the best version.
If you think about just a single team playing on a single round, There are probably 350 different combinations of possible opponents, stadiums, and television broadcasting slots for that team on a given week.
But then we start to overlay different variables into the software. So, for example, on Anzac Day each year, Collingwood and Essendon play against each other at the MCG. That means all the other teams in that round can't play against those two teams. And it'll also impact when they play the week after and where they play the week before. And then you've automatically got less variations of the fixture that the software can build.
Even when you're trying to schedule a single team over a 24 or 25 round fixture, the number of combinations is around 350 to the power of 25. That's something with probably 60 or 70 zeros behind it, and that's just for a single team.
So there's a number of different things we factor into the fixture build, everything from travel, so where teams travel to and how many times they travel.
Each club plays 11 home and 11 away games, and a certain amount of games at a venue.
Days break between games.
A club can't play off a 4-day break.
The quality of matches on our big time slots across the year.
So Anzac Day and King's Birthday, that will remain the same matchup year in, year out. We want each club to ideally have a maximum of 2 home games every 3 weeks and 2 away games every 3 weeks to make sure their home games are spread across the season. That can't always happen, but we'll try to guard against that as much as possible.
The normal fixturing process for the AFL is usually a window of around 4 weeks.
So with Melbourne 19 hours ahead of Vancouver where Rick is, it creates a genuinely 24-hour workflow for us where we need to keep the fixture and the versions rolling over an ongoing period to make sure we hit our deadlines.
It works really well that the time zones are actually a little spaced out because then we can both work efficiently and do our own parts when the other one is resting.
My average day would look like getting up basically as early as I can because what I want to do is get the next version of the fixture running as early as possible so it can get to Rick before he goes to bed and we can continue the process.
Within the first week or so, we start to see fixtures that are at least workable, if not, the best possible fixtures. Josh can analyze the various schedules and then come back to me my following morning and give me some new rules and new things to try to make the fixtures better.
I'll wake up a little bit nervously sometimes, waiting to see what's in my inbox and hoping that it's a version that solves a number of the problems from the last version. We're regularly checking in with our executive team, particularly Laura Kane, the EGM of football, just to give a lens from what a football department's looking at.
The key things we look for in a fixture at high level is competitive balance. How that plays out is by making sure we adhere really strictly to the weighted rule to give every chance to every club. And fans walk into a ground or flick on the TV and think that their team can win.
The final 3 weeks or so, it's fine-tuning those fixtures, making improvements, and looking at all kinds of different candidates.
The software will produce millions of versions of the fixture, but most of them probably aren't viable. And so I will closely review and analyse probably 40 to 50 versions before we get the version that is the perfect version and the final one.
It generally will go down right to the last minute. So we'll be signing off final start times within a day of the fixture release. And then it's all systems go to get it in the hands of the public.
We like to think the AFL fixture is really fair. The difficulty is defining what fairness is. We always say that if you ask a fan, a player, a coach, and maybe a venue manager from the same club, what are you looking for in the fixture? They're going to come back with completely different ideas in terms of what makes a great fixture for their club.
We do get a lot of feedback from fans. It might sound a bit strange, but it's actually a great part of the job because it shows people really care about our game and you're under no illusions what the public is thinking about any given matter, so you're getting live feedback as it happens. But it's just great to see so many people passionate about football.
As far as I know, I think I've got the greatest job in the world. If you would have told me 25 years ago that I could be working on these incredibly fascinating math problems while traveling around the world and attending some of the greatest sporting events in the world, I don't think I would have believed you.
It's definitely a sense of relief for me and a lot of people at the AFL, and it's just mainly a exciting moment to get it in the hands of the fans so they can look forward to the big season ahead.